Hi everyone, it's Michaela and you are watching FunsizedStyle. Today's video I'm going to be bringing you a presentation that I recently did alongside my orthopedic surgeon. I was recently invited to the University of Michigan Medical School to teach first year med students, and if you've been around on my social media for a few years now, you've known that I've done this in the past several times. It is a highlight of my year. The past few years it was either not done or done virtually because of COVID, and this year, 5 years later, which is crazy, it was finally back to normal in person, and I love doing this kind of thing. It fills my cup so much and just such a gift that I've been able to do this for so many years. I filmed the entire presentation and I wanted to share it with you. There were two other patients alongside me on this panel. There was one other surgeon whom I'm not familiar with, but she was super great, and obviously for patient privacy I didn't film any of their story or anything like that. It does look like I'm taking over the whole presentation, but it was 2 hours and there were other speakers as well, so I just didn't film it, obviously. I'm excited to share with you. Thank you again to Dr. Caird and University of Michigan Medical School for having me. It is such a treat, and thank you to the students for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be there and hear our stories. It really means a lot, and I'm excited to get a different glimpse of my journey and some of my public speaking engagements that I love so much. I also reference presentation and I insert screenshots of what that slide looked like because the video frame didn't fit it. So you'll see that as well. Let's go ahead and get into it, and I'm excited to share with you the insight that I shared with the students.
I think that almost no matter what you choose to specialize in, you will encounter someone as a patient or something that will overlap with musculoskeletal needs. And certainly if you're at a barbecue or you're at the pool or you're hanging out with your family, someone, no matter what specialty you go into, will come up and say, hey, my knee hurts, and things like that, because you're a doctor. I hope that you're feeling, when you're done with this sequence, that you feel more comfortable with understanding the musculoskeletal system and some of the common things that we deal with in helping patients. Today is about some amazing patients, and we'd like to take the time to introduce them to you and tell a little bit about, I'll tell a little bit about their conditions, as will Dr. Clay, but then I'd like them to talk to you more and really give you a patient perspective. Two of our patients are very seasoned in speaking with our medical students. They've been great educators for our medical students, and we're so happy to have them here. We also have a brand new patient, and we're so thankful that she's here as well on Zoom. So first, I'd like to introduce Michaela Daver. And Michaela and I have known each other for a very, very long time. You're much younger, and I was much younger. And Michaela is a really wonderful patient to work with. Her family's wonderful to work with. She is in marketing and lives in the Saginaw area. And she and her dad have driven down to be with us today. Michaela has Osteogenesis Imperfecta. So I am a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, and that is one of the rare diseases that affect the musculoskeletal system. And I have been really fortunate to care for a lot of the kids in the state of Michigan and their families, and adult patients as well with osteogenesis imperfecta. So if you remember back, that is brittle bone disease. That is, but it doesn't just affect the bones. So we put together an amazing team of of specialists to take care of, to really help enhance the care of patients with osteogenesis imperfecta. And we started with a team for kids. So we have an orthopedic surgeon for kind of the broken bones, but also for watching and making sure that spines stay straight, etc. We have a wonderful pediatric PM&R physician that is part of that clinic, ophthalmologist, geneticist, cardiologists, dietitians, endocrinologists,
neurosurgery.
Yeah, neurosurgeons, audiologists, ENT surgeons. I know I'm forgetting people, but
yeah.
So it takes a really big team to care. Physical therapists, right? Physical therapists, occupational therapists, wheelchair seating. So a big team, and dentists. Okay, take care for folks who have osteogenesis imperfecta. Not everybody needs all of us, but we really want to be available. So I'm going to also introduce our second panelist and guest, and then I'll have Liz do an introduction, and then maybe we can move to some of the questions that you all have.
Thank you guys for being here today. It really means a lot for me as a patient to be here. It's like this, always feel a little bit full circle, because before I was born, and when I was born, I was told by other medical professionals that I shouldn't be born and that I would be a burden on society, and now I get to teach the future of healthcare professionals, and so there's nothing more of a full circle moment than that. So it just really means a lot to me to be here, and how far I've come. I wanted to share these pictures because I feel like so often in healthcare we forget that you're treating people. So before I'm a patient, I am so much more than my medical diagnosis, and so it's important for me to share a little bit of who I am outside of the hospital four walls, because my life is so much more than that. I'm a college graduate in 2023. I got my bachelor's in business administration with honors. I share my life on social media under the username FunsizedStyle with almost 50,000 followers across all platforms. I share my life with osteogenesis imperfecta and changing the face of beauty and fashion, and I've gotten some really great opportunities from that. Being featured on a billboard in Times Square, being featured in People magazine, and my story has really flourished online and presented such incredible opportunities. And that is my family. So I have a twin brother who also has osteogenesis imperfecta, Austin, and then my mom and my dad. My mom has osteogenesis imperfecta type 3 as well, and my dad has mild cerebral palsy. And I'm certain that in all the things that you see throughout your medical journey, you probably won't see a family like ours. But I'm so grateful for the family that I have, and I also love to travel. It's one of my favorite things to do. In this past year, I've gotten some really incredible opportunities to be able to do that and share my story nationwide, which has been really cool. My journey with osteogenesis imperfecta has been anything but easy, but it has allowed me to live an incredibly full life. Healthcare has been at the forefront of my life since the time I was born. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. I've had about 100 fractures throughout my lifetime and 30 surgeries. Dr. Caird has been a part of more than half of those. And the fact that she described me as wonderful is really shocking to me, because I thought by now I would drive her to one foot. Because I have made her job anything but easy. I have probably made her job the most difficult it's ever been. The fact that she still wants to stick around really means a lot. So I have metal rods in all four of my limbs to keep them straight and strong. I am in a really good spot in my health journey as an adult. Osteogenesis imperfecta is unique in the fact that a lot of times musculoskeletal conditions, as you get older, they digress and get worse. In my case, with osteogenesis imperfecta, I've gotten stronger as I've gotten older, and I haven't had a fracture in about 6 or 7 years. Knock on wood. So Dr. Caird Now he doesn't want me to say that out loud. That's how I be here next week. But I've really gotten to celebrate the independence that I've had through that and gotten stronger as I've gotten older. But the one aspect of my life that continues to be a challenge and has been a challenge in recent years is I still have Osteogenesis Imperfecta, and as Dr. Caird said, it's so much more than just fractures, and there's so many health challenges that I deal with on a daily basis that people may not see or may not know about as much. And in the past few years, one of the biggest parts of my journey has been scoliosis. 4 years ago, I underwent a series of spinal surgeries too, totaling 17 hours and 28 days in the hospital. Dr. Caird and I had a lot of difficult discussions leading up to that day, and I consulted several doctors because the conversation was that I could have ended up with a tracheostomy or be paralyzed, and things that you don't want to hear in your 20s, and was told that if I didn't do the surgery that I would have about 10 years or less to live. In your 20s, you don't want to be talking about death and dying, and I think what is unique about me and Dr. Caird's story is that I think in pediatric orthopedics, you don't expect talk about death and dying is not a common conversation that you need to have. So as my friends were going off to college and doing these really cool things, I was fighting for my life and had to make a really difficult decision. And my mom and I were talking about it this week, and Dr. Caird doesn't know this because I just learned this, but she really did not want me to do surgery, like at all. And so that was the first major medical decision that I made without the approval of my parents. They supported me and helped me throughout the way, but deep down inside they were absolutely terrified and really didn't want me to do it because medically I was doing okay for the surgery, so it was hard for them to see me put myself in such what could have been a really dangerous position. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. These are the list of things that I had to consent to that day, and this picture is really powerful to me because, of course, in medicine you have to consent to all the things that could be a possibility, even if it's not likely, but the situation that I went into it with, it was more likely for me than most patients, and we just didn't know what my future would look like or what the outcome would be for me, but I had a will to live, and I just wasn't ready to give up, and I just felt like the Lord still had a plan and a purpose for me here, just like all of us, and so I just had a feeling that I was meant to do this. And if you want to go ahead, go to one of the last slides. It was one of the best decisions of my life. You'll see some really happy pictures here, but it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It really put it into perspective. I've had some near-death experiences before, but this felt different and really takes away any fear I have about life, any fear I have about any COVID, when patients were isolated. And that was one of the worst things that we've ever done to patients, is to leave them isolated. And so that made it so much harder, but it made me braver and stronger because I had nobody there to advocate for me but me. And so there were things that happened during my hospital stay that I had to advocate for that I shouldn't have had to advocate for, but I did because healthcare is run by humans. And so it was really hard. This is a before and after of my spine. As you can see, these images are actually really hard for me to look at, but we weren't striving for perfection, but I'm able to live a full and fulfilling life, and the things I've gotten to do because of that journey just means so much. Being here today just feels even more full circle that I get the chance to be here with all of you and teach you that. I hope that you'll fight for your patients as much as Dr. Caird has fought for me. So when her colleagues thought she was absolutely insane because they wouldn't touch my spine with a 10-foot pole. So she has done what so many of her colleagues had said wasn't possible. And I just hope that no matter what you choose for your patients that have a will to live, I hope that you help them fight for it as best as you can. And if you can't, help them find someone who can, because I promise you that for those patients that want to live and want to fight, they will go to the ends of the earth to do that. And so I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to live and to be here to share more of my story with all of you.
Thank you. It's a good partnership. And I think you highlight that, that there is so much more to how doctors and patients team up to really work on goals and where people want to be. And then as much as we can, we sort of give you what we think are the risks and what might be the benefits, and try to say this is where we think this might head, and are we okay together with what that means. And I think that's how we really make progress for patients. Thanks for your trust. And I don't think that happens overnight, right?
No.
That really does happen because we knew each other for 12 years or 16 years, however many, too many to admit to. But that's important. Thanks. Big barriers are things that, oh gosh, that did not go right.
Well, I don't think we would have enough time to cover all of them.
Pick your favorite.
Yeah.
Or the most teachable one.
Oh gosh. Well, there's a lot of them, but it's just, I think the other thing to point out too when you come across like barriers and challenges, I would say patients are the best teachers. I've lived in this body for 26 years, and so there is nobody in this room that knows me better than me. And every time I've tried to make a concern about my health, and every time I've been dismissed, I've been right every single time. There has yet been a time where I've been wrong when it comes to my health. And so I think that, and just knowing that I have to advocate for myself because nobody else is going to do it for me. But one thing that sticks out to me, I think, especially because I was alone, when I had my spinal fusion surgery, it was obviously very difficult, and I was by myself. And a week later, I was still in the hospital, and I started not to be able to feel my legs and my hands and portions of my arm. And that was really concerning to me because obviously I knew a risk of the surgery was paralysis, but if I was to become paralyzed, it wouldn't have been a week after surgery unless something was really wrong. And so I told the nurses about it, and they were like, oh, well, it might just be like your nerves from the surgery. But like every single day, it kept getting worse. And it wasn't like that initially when I woke up from surgery. And there was this one day that it was so bad, I just knew something was wrong. And I said, like, look, I need someone to like check this out. Like something is not right. Like I can't feel my legs. And like that's really scary. And I'm alone, like nobody's there to advocate for me. And so finally, after a lot of pushing, I got an MRI that night, and one of the screws had migrated near my cervical spine. The thought of me leaving that hospital with a screw near my cervical spine, because I think the real kicker for me was I had a resident tell me that because I couldn't feel my legs that I was just stressed because I was by myself. And that was so demeaning to me because I think when you have an anxiety diagnosis or any type of mental health challenge, that is your label for your entirety of your hospital stay, and that is the one diagnosis that they look at. I have not struggled with that in a very long time, and so there can be improvements in that, and that is not my identity, and I still know myself better than anybody in that room. And so to tell me that because I can't feel my legs, I was stressed, like that is absolutely terrifying. And I don't know if Dr. Caird remembers this, but the day that she came to tell me we had to do the spine surgery again, she brought the resident that told me I was stressed. So that was really fun. I still remember that to this day, and it just makes me smile. But yeah, so we ended up having to do it again, and it was really terrifying being told that I might not make it through one, and here I am going through two. And so that was really scary because I knew there was a possibility I would have to do it again in maybe 7 years, 7 weeks. Thought maybe I'd make it a little longer than 7 days, but we didn't quite get there. But that is one that sticks out to me just because things got bad so quickly and it was like such a big thing, and being told I was stressed, that was really goes to show like the patient is going to know themselves better every single time.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important. This also really, I think, highlights that the spectrum of patients that are here really highlights that there are, as orthopedic surgeons, we have different amounts of interaction, different lengths of time that we take care of people. So, you know, it's easy to think that some of the care that I give is somebody who doesn't have osteogenesis imperfecta falls off the monkey bars, breaks their arm, we give them a pink sparkly cast, and they get better, and then I don't see them again because they heal and they do great. And Liz also is able to work with patients, help them with their arthritis through that hip replacement or a knee replacement, and then they don't need her anymore. And so there's so much to choose from in the relationships that we have with patients. There are really, I think whatever you're choosing when you're thinking about a specialty, really, you know, there is, even in things that you might think on face might be like, oh yeah, that you don't get to have long-term relationships with patients. There are so many ways to create that in all the different areas. So, yeah, we'd love to have some questions. Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering if you could speak about your experience with mobility assisting devices and the impact those have in your life.
So, can you repeat the question before you go ahead?
Yeah, so he wanted to know, describing the impact that mobility devices have had on my life. I have utilized a wheelchair since the age of 3. I started using a power wheelchair at the age of 3, and I'm 26, so this has been my form of mobility for most of my life, and then prior to that, I used a manual wheelchair. It's unique for me because I have used a mobility device practically from birth. I don't know life any different, and one thing, especially through sharing my story publicly, is a lot of people view this mobility device that I use as something sad, as a tragedy, when in reality, I view it as a gift. But sure, it would be great to not have to use it because it breaks down and it's not always reliable, but I wouldn't be able to live the life that I live. I wouldn't be able to be here today without it. I wouldn't be able to travel and do the things that I love without my wheelchair, and it allows me to be independent and do the things that I need to do to live a productive life. And I have had many wheelchairs throughout my life. Most recently, Delta Airlines actually bought me a brand new wheelchair because they dropped my wheelchair 30 feet during my most recent flight. So the Delta CEO now knows me, and that was a lot of fun. So it's been a challenge. Getting a mobility device, even when you have a lifelong disability, is not easy. You would think, of course, you can get a wheelchair, but you would not believe the fight that I have to get the things that I need, and I will never not need a wheelchair. If anyone needs a wheelchair, it's me. So if I can't get one, I don't know who can't get one. So having to advocate for mobility devices is something that I'll have to do for the entirety of my life, but it's what I need to do to live a full, productive life.
First, I wanted I don't thank you enough. I got the chance to go with the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons with their research group. We went to Washington, D.C. to advocate for research money, and it's been a couple of years now.
Yeah,
10 years?
2016 was when we went.
Okay, 5 years. What's really effective in that type of advocacy is having patients come and really tell their story. And so I invited Michaela and Austin and their parents to come. So Austin could not
We were in
come.
Tennessee.
Yeah. But Michaela and her parents came. And we went all over DC talking to our Congress people and like meeting other patients. And what was, I was so thankful to you guys because you showed me what a day or two in your lives really is about. And how hard, and DC, you know, the ADA, they passed all those laws, but they didn't pass them for themselves. So Congress didn't have to fix any of their buildings. There's one entrance with a ramp to like
to most of those congressional buildings. And it's not easy. So, and then the other place where I was really, it was very eye-opening for me was like in the cafeteria in the congressional buildings. Like, you know, billions of Washington types, you know, rushing around anyway, but like nobody was look out for them. Nobody, the eyes never came down to see that you were there, and I was just so worried that we were all going to get plowed over. I feel like George Clooney and his wife were on Capitol Hill that day, and so there was a lot of extra buzz. But to me, it was just so eye-opening to see how little people can choose to interact with somebody who's in a chair, and how unsafe. I mean, how unsafe and it can really. I think it can really feel like people aren't you're not seen.
Yeah, and I think also like it's just different perspective, because I don't think about it the way that Dr. Caird thinks about it, because I don't think about it because it's just my life and I do what I have to do to get by, and I understand the reality that the world isn't built for people like me or for who have to use mobility devices. There's definitely improvements being made, but the reality is it just isn't, because when it's not your daily life, I don't expect people honestly to think about it, because people are like, don't you wish more people would care or think about it? But disability is one of the minorities that you could become of in a moment. One simple fall or one simple accident could change the trajectory of your life. It's the only minority group that you could become a part of at any time in your life, not from birth. And so until you have to think about it, you don't. But the moment you have to think about it, you get it. And so I just always try to think of it from that way. Give not necessarily the benefit of the doubt, because I think we're just too far into society for that by now, but just the reality of what it is. And I can't take on the burden of all of that, but just doing the best that I can with what I have and advocating when and where I can.
Yeah, thanks. You do a lot of advocacy. Do you want to talk maybe about one or two of the things that you do?
Sure. Yeah, advocacy. I think my mic's not working. Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Advocacy is something that I'm very passionate about. I always describe as turning pain into purpose. I had a lot of challenges throughout my lifetime, as you can imagine, and I think that's really important for me is making something of it, to make it mean something, not only to make it impact the people around me, but for myself to know that the challenges that I endure aren't for nothing. Whether it be to inspire people to be grateful for the abilities that they have, or to make things better for the next generation. Advocacy is just something that I'm super involved in and use my social platforms. It's a huge gift that I have to be able to have the platform that I do and get the attention of the CEO of Delta Airlines, and just be able to have that voice. Because when you have a disability, you really do get the attention of people when you start talking and get people talking about it, get people thinking about it. I actually just got back last month. I was in Las Vegas. I was honored at the Setting Scoliosis Straight Gala for my journey, and the organization that came across my story from my social media platforms, and I was honored at the gala. There's different initiatives with Osteogenesis Imperfecta, sharing my story, and getting to be here with all of you. I hope that being here today, as you go throughout your medical journey, that you'll take any little piece that I have to share, and always put your patients first. We all have things that we deal with, but patients don't. You need to leave your baggage at the door and bring the best to your patients, because that's what they deserve in that moment. We all have something that we're dealing with. In medical professionals, like, a lot of people feel bad for me, and obviously being told that I shouldn't be alive is not really following the oath that they took of doing no harm. Advocating for life, truly, because if I didn't have the gift of life, I wouldn't be able to be here, to be able to do anything that I have. And just remind doctors at the level of it, I think the system has gotten too big, and we forget the humanity of it, and I make health care decisions so that I can continue to live and thrive and do the things that are most important to me.
Thank you. Questions? I saw some more hands. There's a hand in the back. Yes. Yeah.
I love how long you have had relationships with both Peyton and Michaela. I was wondering if Peyton and Michaela, you could reflect on like how your healthcare team has grown with you, and how they maybe like responded to your needs as they've changed from adulthood or childhood to adulthood, and like maybe how they've supported you in that transition.
Since I'm kind of past that at this point, it's been a challenge. I think, actually, thank goodness for Dr. Caird. Like, she's remained the constant in my life for a long time. But there are aspects of my healthcare team that I've had to change, going from pediatric to adult. The things that stick out to me most are cardiology, audiology, and pulmonary have been the three main specialists that I rely on that I've had to switch. I have found some really great providers, but honestly, like, it's really scary for me still as an adult to trust new doctors whenever I have to bring a new one onto the team, and most recently one for my kidneys. But yeah, it's still, even as an adult, bringing in new healthcare professionals is something that is still really scary for me because I've had to build up a wall before I could trust a healthcare provider because of what I've been through and what I've seen and what has been told to me past. It's very unlikely to me that when I first meet you that I'm going to trust you because I don't know you, and I think that's important to know when you meet a patient for the first time. You never know what kind of transition they're going through when they come to meet you, or if what they've been told by other healthcare professionals in the past. You wouldn't believe the things that we have been told. And so I would hope that none of you in this room would ever tell your patients that they're a burden or that they don't matter. Just those words stick with you for the rest of your life and can cause you to build up a wall. And I've had to do that in order to protect myself, and I have fired my handful of healthcare providers throughout my journey, but the reality is they work for me, and I think that that's something to keep in mind is your work is important, but you work for your patient. They don't work for you. So they are putting their trust in you. And honestly, I'm the one that has to pay too. Financially, the reality of it is you want to have a good experience for something that you're paying for. And so just knowing that you could be the person that changes a person's full perspective on healthcare should be really empowering. Dr. Caird has unfortunately set very high standards for me now when I meet healthcare providers, because I always think to myself, would Dr. Caird be like that? Or would she say that? Or would she approve of somebody like that? And if the answer is no in the back of my mind, then on to the next. But it's just something that is important to me, and it allows me to, good healthcare teams allows me to live a full and fulfilling life, so I know that I deserve nothing but the best because I deserve the same quality healthcare as anyone without a disability. Mine's just a little more complicated and makes people's, like Dr. Caird's job a little bit more challenging, but I hope that you'd all be up for a good challenge every now and then because you never know the kind of patients that you'll meet.
Acknowledging what you know and what you don't know is okay, and working through that honestly with families is legit.
I think that's really important,
right?
Because especially like having a lie and it being so rare, it's like the worst thing that you can do is tell me you know when you don't know, because that just can create a whole new set of problems. And I actually appreciate when doctors tell me I don't know, but I know someone who does, or I'm willing to learn. Doctors who are willing to learn and collaborate is like really important, because I don't expect any doctor to have all the answers, but I expect them to have the humility to say when they don't know, because I think that that's honestly very respectful to the patient, to be honest in all the conversations that you have, even with any amount of knowledge that you have.
Yeah, I think that's really important. The trust between a physician and patient is really crucial, and especially when we're asking you to undertake a ton of risk for surgeries. And we do our best, but things can go wrong.
So I'm very curious about Michaela's social media platform. So I would love to hear about why you do that and what it means to you.
I don't know if we can pull up the very last slide. Has a little bit about my social media and like where you can find me, but I actually originally started my social media mainly talking about like makeup, my favorite makeup products, and fashion videos because it's something that's just fun for me. I love to do, and as my platform began to grow, it's when I realized the societal view that we have on disability and medical challenges. I widened my niche and began to talk about osteogenesis imperfecta and the challenges that I have with it, because honestly, like, it's just a huge part of my life. I used to say that OI doesn't define me, but in reality it does, because it affects everything that I do. It affects the passions that I have and the things that are important to me, and I want to share that with the world because I genuinely love the life that I live. There's a lot of challenges that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, but there's also a lot of joy. And so to be able to share that and inspire people is something that's incredibly rewarding for me. When I was sharing my spinal fusion journey, there was people that were kind of in the same situation as I was, deciding on whether or not to have the surgery, and my story gave them hope. And the reality is also can be challenging for me to share because I know that not everyone has had the outcomes that I've had or has the medical team that I have, and so being mindful of that when I share, and just sharing with people that as much as I love my life, it's okay to share the hard parts too, and all of that. And I think on social media we tend to share like our vacations and our like best times, but I share like all of it, not just the highlights of my life. Such opportunity when sharing a story, and everyone has a story. I just choose to share mine. One thing, when I was going through my spinal fusion journey, people would ask me why I was willing to risk my life to do this, because I was doing okay to begin with, and I said life is worth fighting for, and that's become my motto as I've gone through this and continue to deal with the challenges that I face from it today. Being able to have the reach that I do with people and inspire. There's other doctors that watch my social media, other nurses and other healthcare professionals, so to be able to have that outreach for them and positively impact patients really means a lot.
Thank you so much, all three of you, for being here, sharing your stories. You really are helping to make us better physicians in the future. I have a question for both Peyton and Michaela. I guess we're directed to Michaela. How have your siblings impacted your healthcare journey, specifically with Michaela? You mentioned your brother also has OI. I was wondering if there are similarities or differences that you would be willing to share.
Yeah, that's a great question, because even though my mom and my twin brother all have osteogenesis imperfecta type 3, it affects each of us a little bit different in a lot of ways. My mom and my twin brother primarily use a walker as their form of mobility at home, and I use my power wheelchair. And my mom and my twin brother have not had scoliosis surgery, and I have, and so those are like the two, I would say, biggest things that are different between the three of us. Just different things, like I would say I've had a few more fractures than my brother. It really, even within OI, like the type, even though we have the same type, it just varies so much, and I think that's what makes care for OI so complicated and challenging, because you can do one type of care for a patient with the same type and it may not work at all for someone with that type. It's just so individualized, which can make it challenging. And it was also really difficult for my mom and my twin brother when I was going through like having my halo. I was at home when I was in halo traction for 3 months, and so to have them like see me go through that, it was hard, because everything else that the three of us have endured, we've kind of been able to relate to each other, and like we just kind of know what it's like because we've been there. But this was the first endeavor that they have absolutely zero experience of knowing what it's like and the challenges with it and what it feels like to go through it. And so that was the first major medical decision that I had to make, that my mom nor my twin brother ever had any experience with. But I am very fortunate to have not only a mom but also a twin brother with this disability, because not everyone has that, and I think there is something really special about that, because I'm not like the outlier in the family with challenges, especially with having the same disability. So it's definitely been a huge blessing, but it affects each of us a little bit different in a lot of ways.
From a perspective of providing care, just thinking about when you guys were little and now that you're adults. So my, one of my great mentors is super rough and used to scream at us and throw things at us in the operating room. It was another generation. But in the clinic room and talking with kids, he wasn't there to talk to their parent. He was always there. That, I mean, even like generation, a different generation, that the child was his patient, first and foremost. And so that is something that that was maybe even more of a contrast with all of the other gruffness that he had. But that I learned that made a very strong impression on me, that we're talking, and now we do as adults, but when you were little, like, I needed to know from you. I think that's part of like what we developed over time. You've always been really good at advocating for yourself, but that is a really important part of relating to patients. I have patients with cerebral palsy who have communication difficulties, but I know that there's such a big spectrum of how people can communicate that it's really, really, really important that that's where the conversation starts. Always starts with communication. Even if it looks like that person might not be able to tell you or might not be able to understand you, I would always start with that conversation happens with the patient first. And many times parents or others are there and they know and can translate or help with communication or help to enhance that conversation or add to, but it starts with. There's a question.
Thank you so much for sharing kind of the different stages of your respective journeys. I'm wondering if there are any things or plans that y'all are especially looking forward to in the next few years.
I feel like everyone wants me to answer this. Honestly, these past few years have been really sweet for me, because I feel like now, even though my spine surgery was 4 years ago, I feel like now I'm like finally, like the past 2 years, I've finally been able to reap the benefits of it and like truly get back to doing the things that I love to do. I've been able to go on a lot of trips and travel and do the things that I could do. And I'll tell you, like when I was in the ICU and intubated, I didn't know what life looked like. I didn't know, like there were some nights I was there alone and I didn't know like how I could possibly make it through the next day, because there was just so much pain and I just wanted it to go away, because it was just more than I thought I could endure. But it makes moments like these so much sweeter, to be able to go on the adventures that I've been wanting to go on and things that people take for granted, being able to do and just truly live life to the full. I'm working corporate communications, so provide for myself and live a very full and fulfilling life, and I'm grateful to be here, to be able to continue to do the things that I love that are important to me. But the thing about being medically complex is sometimes it's hard to look towards the next several years. Like I always hated the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because 4 years ago, I would have never imagined I'd be where I was, talking about death and dying and only having 10 years or left to live at the age of 20. And so taking every day as it comes, and every day is a gift, and that really shifts your perspective, because you may not have 5 years. There's not a single person in this room that can guarantee the amount of days that I have or that any of us have, but I didn't want to find out if Dr. Caird was right or not, because by that time, it would be too late. And so I wanted to do what I could do to live the most fulfilling life that I possibly could. So to be honest, just getting to do the things that I enjoy and continue providing for myself are things that I'm looking forward to continuing to do. Obviously, me having a disability, there are many things that I've had to rely on others for, and I hope that you'll take this opportunity as a gift to be part of someone's life that could impact them in the greatest way. Dr. Caird has been that person for me, given me the ability to live fully and thriving, and even amidst the challenges, there's still challenges that I face today, but what a gift it is that you all have the skill and the ability to be able to be a part of someone's life. You may not think that it makes a difference, or you may not get the thanks and appreciation from all of your patients, but I promise you that what you do, it does not go unnoticed. You can do is not for nothing. There will always be a time that people need to rely on others, and what a gift it is that we have doctors and people willing to step up to walk alongside people like myself who face unimaginable times. Dr. Caird has been there through the worst days of my life, even more so gotten a front row seat, more so than my closest friends and family. And so I think you'll see things that your patients, friends, and family will never see. Really incredibly vulnerable and difficult times, and I hope you understand what a gift that is to be able to be a part of someone's life in a way that no one else can be.
I just wanted to add that for two things. The first is that Michaela, you brought that up about how we have this gift of being allowed and to see patients and other people when they are having their very hardest times. And so I think that is something that really fuels me, that the amazing trust that patients and their families put in us and our teams. And I also want to make sure to be humble about that there are so many people on our teams, and everybody contributes to things going the very best that they can. Yeah, and it's no joke, right? We need everybody working really well together. That takes appreciation for the things that each team member brings to an operation or to a clinic visit or to anything that we're going to try to do together. And I think we all have, you pointed out, we all have things that are really hard. We all have challenges, and that, if you can find that, what drives you and what moves you forward, and really you're here. It's patience, and it's helping to make things better for others. That we are going through hard times, right now. And if we can stick to our values and what brought us here and who we want to be at the end of whatever challenge we're going through, and very simply the challenges that we're going through right now, and who we want to be as a university, as a medical school. If we remember what drove us here and who we want to be when we're done, and that we want to be proud of who we are and what we've done. That, I think that approach is what gets us through. We're really close to time. Thank you to our guests once again. I learn a lot from you every time we get to do this. I feel really thankful that you welcome us here for this morning. Please reach out and email. I know Michaela would definitely want to talk more.